They seriously underestimated you, Alex. That $13,000 gift for the baby shower they banned you from. It wasn't just an insult, it was a miscalculation. A very, very expensive one for them, as they're about to discover. I looked across the polished mahogany desk at Ms. Vance, my lawyer. Her smile was calm, almost serene, but her eyes held a glint of a predator sighting its prey. Our first letters go out tomorrow morning. They thought they could play you. They have no idea we're about to change the entire game. My name is Alex Morgan, and for the longest time, I guess you could say I was the family's designated problem solver, or more accurately, their golden ATM. Living in Portland, Oregon, working as a lead game developer, I'd done pretty well for myself. Maybe too well in their eyes. My mom, Mrs. Miller, and my older sister, Olivia, who lived with her husband Mark in a quiet suburb just outside the city, always seemed to have a new crisis that only my bank account could fix. One month, it was Olivia's car unexpectedly breaking down, a vintage convertible she insisted on buying despite my warnings. The next, it was Mom needing funds for a once-in-a-lifetime wellness retreat that cost more than my first car. And let's not forget the annual family vacation to Hawaii, where I footed 90% of the bill, only to spend most of my time listening to Olivia complain about the hotel not being 5-star enough. Why did I put up with it for so long? Well, after Dad passed away when I was just starting college, I made him a promise. A promise to always look after Mom and Olivia, to make sure they were okay. I thought by providing for them, by saying yes to every request, I was honoring him. I guess I hoped deep down that one day they'd see my efforts, my sacrifices, and maybe, just maybe, appreciate me for more than my ability to write a check. But year after year, the requests just grew bolder, their sense of entitlement more deeply entrenched, and my promise started to feel less like a comfort and more like a chain. Then, a few months ago, Olivia announced she was pregnant. Of course, I was happy for her, for them. A new baby in the family, that's supposed to be a joyous occasion, right? Wrong, at least not entirely for me. A week later, Mom called, her voice practically dripping with a syrupy sweetness I knew all too well. "Alex, darling," she began, "Olivia is planning the most wonderful baby shower. She found this absolutely divine venue, a little historic hotel downtown, and the cutest organic catering. You know how she is, only the best for her little angel. The thing is, dear, it's just a tiny bit over their budget, around say $13,000? My stomach churned. $13,000 for a baby shower? It was more than some people's entire wedding budget, but that familiar weight of obligation, that damn promise settled in. With a sigh I barely managed to conceal, I agreed. I transferred the money. What's one more yes in a lifetime of them, right? I didn't reply to either of them. What was there to say? My fingers hovered over the keyboard, 1,000 angry responses forming in my head, but I deleted them all. For the first time, their usual tactics, the guilt trips, the casual cruelty, disguised as concern, didn't make me want to crumble or try harder to please them. Instead, a strange sort of calm washed over me. It was the calm of a battlefield after the bombs have fallen, when you can finally see the full extent of the devastation. They had shown their true colors unequivocally, and I, for the first time, truly saw them. The years of quiet resentment, the swallowed frustrations, the endless cycle of giving and getting nothing but disdain in return. It all coalesced into a single, hard point of clarity. I leaned back in my chair, staring blankly at my monitor. My heart still ached, yes, but underneath the pain, something new was stirring. Resolve, screaming, crying, or sending a scathing text wouldn't change a thing. It wouldn't make them understand. It wouldn't undo years of being treated like an expendable resource. No. Anger wouldn't fix this. Only a plan would, and I knew with a certainty that chilled me to the bone that I couldn't do this alone. It was time to call in a professional. It was time to find a lawyer. Finding a good lawyer in Portland wasn't hard. Finding one who specialized in financial disputes and understood the nuances of family conflict was another matter. After a few days of discreet research, one name kept popping up: Ms. Eleanor Vance. Her firm was downtown in one of those sleek, modern buildings that exuded quiet competence. The moment I stepped into her office, I felt a shift. It wasn't ostentatious, but everything about it, from the curated art on the walls to the firm, reassuring handshake Ms. Vance offered, spoke of professionalism and a sharp intellect. She was perhaps in her late 40s, with a presence that was both commanding and surprisingly empathetic. I laid out the whole sordid story, from years of being the family ATM to the $13,000 baby shower and the brutal text messages. I even brought printouts of bank statements, old emails hinting at financial support, and screenshots of those final dismissive texts. Ms. Vance listened patiently, her expression unreadable at first, only occasionally jotting down a note or asking a clarifying question that cut straight to the heart of the matter. There was no judgment in her eyes, only a focused intensity that made me feel, for the first time in a long while, that someone was actually listening, not to placate me, but to understand. When I finally finished, the silence in the room was thick. She leaned back, her gaze unwavering. Then she said, her voice calm but edged with steel, "Alex, what you've described isn't just a family squabble or a case of hurt feelings. This is a clear pattern of financial exploitation, potentially with elements of emotional abuse, and, frankly, what could be argued as fraudulent inducement for that $13,000. This isn't just about getting your money back, it's about severing a toxic financial tie, legally and definitively." My jaw almost dropped. Fraudulent inducement? Severing a toxic financial tie. This was far more than I had ever envisioned. Ms. Vance, however, was just getting started. She leaned forward, a precise, no-nonsense glint in her eyes. "So, here's what I propose as our initial strategy, Alex," she stated, her voice a calm counterpoint to the storm brewing inside me. First, an immediate cessation of all non-contractual financial support. No more loans, no more gifts, no more covering their expenses. Second, we draft a formal demand letter for the return of the $13,000, citing misrepresentation and emotional distress. We'll also review any assets you currently hold title to, but they have beneficial use of. That car your mother drives, for instance, or any property they frequent. Third, depending on their response, or lack thereof, we prepare to escalate. This could mean mediation, or if necessary, taking this to court. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "We're not just getting your money back, Alex. We're resetting the terms of engagement, permanently." The days that followed my meeting with Ms. Vance were a blur of quiet action. True to her word, the first step was severing the financial umbilical cord. I meticulously went through my accounts, canceling a couple of automatic payments I'd long forgotten were subsidizing Olivia's lifestyle blog server costs, and another that covered Mom's premium cable package. It felt strangely liberating, like shedding a heavy, invisible cloak. Then, the demand letter. Ms. Vance had drafted a masterpiece of legal prose. Polite, professional, yet utterly unyielding in its demand for the $13,000 to be returned within 30 days, citing funds advanced under misrepresentation. A copy was sent via certified mail to both Olivia and Mom. For nearly a week after the letters were delivered, there was silence. An eerie, unnerving silence that was almost louder than their usual demands. I half expected my phone to blow up immediately, but it was quiet, too quiet. Did they not get them? Were they ignoring it, hoping it would just go away? Or were they perhaps finally realizing I wasn't bluffing? Then, on the 7th day, a single tentative text message from Olivia appeared on my screen. "Hey, got a weird letter from some lawyer. Is this a joke? Call me." No apology. No mention of the $13,000. Just confusion, tinged with an arrogance I knew all too well. A few hours later, Mom chimed in with a voicemail, her voice a carefully constructed blend of bewilderment and hurt. "Alex, honey, I don't understand this letter. Are you suing us? Your own family?" The game, it seemed, was just beginning. That was just the opening salvo. The moment they realized I wasn't backing down, that the weird letter was very, very real, the floodgates opened. My phone, which had been eerily silent, suddenly erupted into a non-stop barrage of calls and texts. First Olivia's. Gone was the confused, arrogant tone, replaced by a torrent of tearful accusations and high-pitched hysterics. "How could you, Alex? After everything? You're trying to ruin my baby shower, my happiness, my life. Don't you care about your own niece or nephew?" Click. I hung up, just as Ms. Vance had advised. "Do not engage, Alex. Let them vent to voicemail. We have a record that way." Next up was Mom. Her approach was different, a classic guilt trip layered with thinly veiled threats. "I raised you better than this, Alex Morgan. To turn on your own blood. Your father would be ashamed of you, absolutely ashamed. You think this lawyer of yours can protect you from the world knowing what a cold-hearted son you are?" Her voice cracked with practiced emotion. Then came Mark, Olivia's husband, with a series of texts trying to play the hapless peacemaker. "Hey Alex, man, I think there's been a huge misunderstanding. Liv's a wreck. Your mom's not doing well. Can't we all just talk this out for the sake of the family? This legal stuff is way too much, don't you think? Too much for them. Perhaps. Not for me. Not anymore." I forwarded everything to Ms. Vance. My only reply, if any, was a terse. "Please direct all future communications to my legal counsel, Ms. Eleanor Vance." Her contact information was provided in the letter. The sheer, unadulterated panic in their escalating messages was almost palpable. They were losing control, and they knew it. The power dynamic had irrevocably shifted, but Ms. Vance wasn't just playing defense. She was on the offensive. While I was weathering their emotional storm, she was calmly executing the next phase. A formal notice regarding the repossession of the SUV Mom had been driving, a car still technically under my name and for which I'd made several payments, was dispatched. Suddenly, Mom's ability to run her errands and attend her social club meetings was in jeopardy. Next, a notification of intent to sell the family's beloved Oregon Coast beach house, another property I owned and reluctantly let them use and abuse year-round. The family retreat was officially on the market. Predictably, they didn't take this lying down. Olivia started posting vague, passive-aggressive rants on social media about ungrateful family members and wolves in sheep's clothing. Mom, I heard through the grapevine, began a smear campaign amongst distant relatives, painting me as a villain, but Ms. Vance was always one step ahead. A sharply worded cease and desist letter regarding defamation shut down Olivia's online antics almost immediately. And as for Mom's gossip, Ms. Vance simply remarked, "Let them talk, Alex. The truth has a way of surfacing, especially when it's backed by legal filings." The walls were indeed closing in on them, brick by legally sound brick. The 30-day deadline on the demand letter came and went. Unsurprisingly, not a single cent of the $13,000 was returned. Their only response, funneled through a hastily hired, rather flustered-sounding local lawyer, was a vague offer to discuss a potential misunderstanding, an offer Ms. Vance politely declined on my behalf. "They're stalling, Alex," she said, her tone crisp. "Time to apply more pressure." And so, the lawsuit was officially filed. Suddenly, this wasn't just a family dispute anymore. It was a matter of public record, a formal claim for recovery of funds. The repossession of Mom's SUV happened, a tow truck arriving on a quiet Tuesday morning. I wasn't there to see it, but I heard later from a cousin, who was surprisingly neutral, that Mom had a complete meltdown on her front lawn, the beach house on Lake Travis just outside Austin. A place filled with my childhood memories before it became their personal party pad was listed with a top realtor. Offers started coming in almost immediately, given the hot market, but perhaps the most damning discovery came from Ms. Vance's meticulous review of their finances, something she was able to subpoena once the lawsuit was active. It turned out, a significant chunk of that $13,000 hadn't gone towards any baby shower deposits at all. Instead, bank records showed Olivia had splurged on a new designer handbag collection and a down payment on a luxury spa membership just days after I transferred the money. This, Alex, Ms. Vance said, presenting the evidence, is no longer just about misrepresentation. This is evidence of clear intentional deceit. It significantly strengthens our case and frankly makes their position almost indefensible. There truly was no way out for them now. The fallout was swift and for them brutal. Olivia's grand Instagram-worthy baby shower canceled, or rather downgraded to a pathetic potluck in their cramped backyard, a far cry from the historic hotel she'd envisioned, and I heard through the grapevine that hardly anyone showed up. The humiliation for someone who lived for online validation must have been acute. Mom, stripped of her SUV and the constant cash flow, suddenly found her social life and wellness routine severely curtailed. No more leisurely lunches at expensive cafes or impulse buys at boutique stores. The carefully curated facade of their comfortable upper-middle-class life was crumbling, revealing the rather desperate reality underneath. And then there was Olivia and Mark. The strain of the lawsuit, the loss of expected income, and the public nature of their deceit began to visibly fray their marriage. Whispers started circulating about constant arguments, Mark looking stressed and overworked, trying to pick up extra shifts to cover their mounting bills now that my contributions had dried up. Their once enviable social media feed, usually filled with staged couple photos and declarations of blessed life, went eerily silent. The picture-perfect illusion they'd so desperately tried to maintain was shattering before their very eyes, and apparently everyone else's too. Then, evening, an unexpected call. It was Mark, Olivia's husband, his voice a stark contrast to his usual breezy confidence. Now quiet, almost pleading. "Alex, please," he stammered. "Olivia, she's not doing well. We made a mistake, a huge mistake. Is there anything at all we can do to make this stop?" I listened, a strange detachment settling over me. The desperation was evident, but the sincerity, that was debatable. I simply said, "Mark, all communication needs to go. Through Ms. Vance. There's nothing more for us to discuss directly." And then I hung up. The door to that part of my life was now firmly and irrevocably closed. So what happened in the end? Well, the lawsuit proceeded, and with the evidence Ms. Vance had gathered, especially regarding the misuse of the $13,000, they didn't stand much of a chance. They eventually agreed to a settlement, a payment plan that would, over time, return a significant portion of what they owed, though I knew I'd likely never see the full amount, and honestly, by then, it wasn't just about the money anymore. The Lake Travis beach house sold quickly. Mom had to downsize significantly, moving into a small rental apartment. Olivia and Mark, I heard, were struggling, their relationship strained to the breaking point by financial pressure and mutual resentment. Their carefully constructed world had indeed imploded. I didn't feel a triumphant glee, more a quiet sense of justice, a necessary, albeit painful, rebalancing of the scales. It's a stark reminder, isn't it, that actions have consequences, and treating people like they're expendable eventually catches up to you. Perhaps if you've ever felt taken for granted, you'll understand the profound relief that comes not from revenge, but from finally reclaiming your peace. If my story resonates, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And as for me, the silence from their side of the family was, for the first time, truly golden. It wasn't just the absence of demands, it was the presence of peace. With the proceeds from the Lake Travis house sale, I didn't buy another property. Instead, I booked a solo trip I'd always dreamed of, a long, unhurried drive through Big Bend National Park. Just me, the open road, and the vast, silent beauty of the desert. For years, my life had revolved around their needs, their dramas. Now, standing on a cliff edge, watching the sunset paint the Chisos Mountains in hues of orange and purple, I felt a profound sense of lightness, of finally being the main character in my own story. It was a quiet victory, but it was mine. Looking back, the whole ordeal was incredibly painful, but it was also, in a strange way, a gift. It forced me to confront a toxic dynamic I had enabled for far too long. I learned that family isn't a blank check for abuse or exploitation. True family, the kind worth fighting for, uplifts you. They don't systematically drain you. As Ms. Vance once told me during one of our strategy sessions, sometimes, Alex, reclaiming your power means redrawing your boundaries in permanent ink. And she was absolutely right. So if you're out there feeling trapped in a similar situation, please know you're not alone and your peace is worth fighting for. It's okay to say no. It's okay to put yourself first, especially when others have consistently put you last. It's a tough road, but the freedom on the other side, it's indescribable. If this story helped you in any way, or if you have your own experiences to share, please do so in the comments. Don't forget to like this video if you found it compelling, and subscribe for more stories about finding your strength. You deserve to be the main character in your own life.